Good morning.
Hi, Senator. We will get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Clark. I am from Senator Shaheen's office here in New Hampshire. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope everyone's staying safe. Before we get started with the call, I'm just going to go down we'll do a roll call of those who have RSVP'd to make sure that you're on the line, and then go over a few quick points and then turn it over to Senator Shaheen. So I will start going down the line. Do we have Eric Feldbaum or Director Bricey from the New Hampshire Department of Natural and Cultural Resources?
Eric Feldbaum is here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Eric.
Do we have Jack Savage and Matt Leahy from the Forest Society?
Good morning. This is Jack Savage.
And this is Matt Leahy. Good morning, Senator.
Morning.
Susan Arnold and Amy Lindholm from the Appalachian Mountain Club.
This is Susan Arnold from AMC, and Amy won't be joining us. But good morning, Senator.
Morning, Susan.
Do we have Jim O'Brien from the Nature Conservancy?
Yes, good morning, Senator.
Morning, Jim.
Do we have Carol Foss from the New Hampshire Audubon? Okay, I know Carol may be a little bit late. Do we have Rob Warner from the League of Conservation Voters?
I'm here, Peter. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Rob.
Jeannie McIntyre from the New Hampshire Land Trust Coalition.
Yes, good morning, Senator.
Morning.
Rick Kendall from the St. Gaudens National Historic Park.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, Senator.
Morning.
And Thayer Tolles from the St. Gaudens Memorial.
Yes, good morning, and good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Do we have Connie Carpenter and Evan Burks from the White Mountain National Forest?
Connie Carpenter here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Senator. Morning, Connie.
Good morning, Peter. This is Evan Burks.
Oh, thank you. Do we have Melanie Luce from the White Mountain Trails Collective?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Teresa Kahn from Nemo Equipment. I think I
Hi,
heard
Teresa here from Nemo. Yes. Hi, Teresa here from Nemo. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
And do we have Greg Bisson from the New Hampshire Recreation and Park Association?
Good morning, Senator and Peter and everyone. Greg Bisson here.
Hi, Greg.
Thank you. And then finally, I have Kathy Corkery from the Sierra Club who said she may not be able to make it. Kathy, are you on?
I am on. Thank you, and good
Great.
morning, Senator.
Morning, Kathy.
And then just want to make sure, Carol, did you log in? Carol from the New Hampshire Audubon? Okay, great. Well, just before I turn it over to Senator Shaheen, just a few points. Like I said at the beginning of the call, if you are not speaking, please keep your line on mute so that we don't get too much background interference. Seems like we're doing pretty well on the call so far. So just please keep your line on mute. And we also, as you heard, we have a number of folks on the call. We want to try to give all folks who want to say a few words enough time to do so. We have about an hour for this call. So we just ask that you keep, each organization will be called on. Please keep your comments brief to about 2 to 3 minutes so we get through to everyone. And now I will turn it over to Senator Shaheen for opening remarks.
Well, thanks very much, Peter. And I will also be brief. Let me also recognize, I think on the call from my office, we also have Sarah Holmes, my state director, Ariel Marshall, my legislative director, and Drew Story, who works on environmental issues and energy issues in D.C. So thank you, Peter, for moderating. And thank you all so much for getting on the call. It's really great to have a chance to talk to so many of you. And I'm sure that, like me, all of us, when we passed the permanent reauthorization of the Land and Water Conservation Fund last year, none of us thought, or at least I certainly didn't think we would be here this soon talking about actually being able to fully fund LWCF to the $900 million level, and then also being able to address some of the tremendous backlog that we have with our national parks, with our Forest Service. And so it's really exciting to be here with, I believe, with a bill that is going to pass overwhelmingly with bipartisan support. So it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you what you are hoping to use with some of the resources, assuming that it does pass and we're able to see some of those dollars in New Hampshire. I also just want to say, because I don't know if we have any press on the call, I think all of you were briefed that there might be some reporters joining us. And for me, one of the best things about LWCF, it's support for some of the really wonderful national sites that we have in this country, our White Mountains National Forest, our of course, our new St. Gaudens National Historic Park. But it's about all of those places in our local communities that are protected because of communities' ability to get some funding through LWCF that they can then match. And so that folks who may never get to some of the national sites or some of the big attractions, or who may get there only rarely, are able to be out in the outdoors and enjoy what we are fortunate to have throughout most of New Hampshire, which is a beautiful natural landscape, water and forest resources, and just the outdoors, the great outdoors that we can enjoy. I think it's appropriate that this is the Great American Outdoors Act is the name of this bill, because it so clearly identifies what we all appreciate, and especially over the last 2.5 months during the pandemic, as we've all had to socially distance and be isolated, being able to get outside and enjoy the resources has just been so wonderful. And I've been fortunate to be able to visit so many of the places throughout New Hampshire where LWCF has provided support, to places like the Pine Barrens in Ossipee, to the Nashua River Walk, to Pawtuckaway State Park, which is close to me in Madbury, to the Meredith Town Docks, to Jericho State Park up in Berlin. Just, we can name so many places that are getting support through LWCF, and the idea that we're going to be able to get additional help to continue to protect important places for all of the people of New Hampshire and those who come and visit us is just so exciting. So thank you all again for joining me, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts about what this will mean for New Hampshire.
Thank you, Senator. And my apologies, I did leave out the press when going down the roll call, but we do have Kim Houghton from the Union Leader, Shay Zoe from the NHPR, and Paula Tracy from In-Depth New Hampshire. So thank you for joining today. So we will jump right into comments from our attendees, and we will start with Eric from the New Hampshire Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
Yes, and Eric, I've been privileged to visit so many of those places with you, and many of them with Phil Bryce. So it's really nice to hear your thoughts about how we can use these resources.
Yeah, and thank you for your continued support. I mean, I can't say anything more than thank you. I think we were all excited to see the act permanently reauthorized, and like you said, to now all of a sudden have the conversation to be talking about permanent and full funding is an even bigger conversation to have, and it's great for the state. Our funding has continued to go up over the past years. We saw a little over $2 million in appropriated funds last year, which totals our kind of total funding so far at about a little over $44 million. And so if we look at that as a match on the state side programming, that's almost $88 million in development and acquisition of outdoor recreation at the local level, and that's huge. There's almost town in this state has some aspect has been touched some way by LWCF. I was actually out in the field yesterday in Concord at a groundbreaking ceremony at one of their local parks that's building a trail for connectivity. We just recently finished launching our most recent grant round. We got over 21 intents, ranging from playgrounds to 400 plus acquisition of acres for new town forest. And can't speak great things about this program. It really impacts the local level, the urban environments in the state. And appreciate your support continuing moving this forward.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. So we will now move to the Forest Society.
Good morning. Thank you. This is Jack Savage again. So I'd echo those. I'd echo those thanks, Senator, for all your help and support, not just recently with this bill, but going back decades. I think you're very aware that Forest Legacy program is a prime example of how many of us have leveraged LWCP for New Hampshire. From our perspective, keeping those working for us as forests are really critical. It's not just about recreation; it's about economic development and the wood resources and so forth. And of course, you were a big help with the Connecticut Lakes Headwaters, which is one of the biggest protection efforts within that program. One of the reasons that New Hampshire's been so successful with Forest Legacy is because of the nature of our partnerships between NGOs and state agencies and federal agencies and local communities. And I hope going forward that the way this funding will roll out, that will be able to continue, that we'll be able to leverage New Hampshire's advantage in that we work well together, we figure it out, and we make things happen. You asked about what projects we might be looking at. We have a great partnership with Phil Bryce and the state at Monadnock State Park. There's over 100,000 people a year who hike that mountain, and they hike it from the state park, which is land that we lease to them, but they also hike it from trailheads that we manage elsewhere that anyone can go to, and anyone can go to the top of that mountain. And there is just millions of dollars of deferred maintenance on that mountain, and we work carefully with the state to try to address it little by little, but really given the nature of the use and the nature of that iconic place for people, not just in New Hampshire, but all through New England, that's a place where a program like this could do a world of good. So thanks very much, and I look forward to hearing what other people have to say.
Well, thanks so much, Jack, and thank you for pointing out not just the economic benefit of things like the Forest Legacy program and our ability to maintain private forests that can then contribute economically to our communities in our state, but also, of course, the importance of outdoor recreation. Some of you may know that a couple of years ago we passed, and I was a co-sponsor of legislation to quantify the economic activity as the result of the outdoors. It's not something that we had done before in a way that allowed us to track that data. And it's really interesting to see just how important the outdoors is to the economy, not just of New Hampshire, but of the country. And now we have that data that can tell us that it's actually a bigger sector of our economy than the fossil fuel industry, which I think was a surprise to a lot of people. So it is not just something that we all enjoy, but there are tremendous economic benefits as well.
And I would add in closing that in turn leads to support for other parts of our mission. So we have someone from NEMO on the call today, and they've been very supportive of us and our nonprofit mission and our attempt to accomplish that mission. So it all sort of creates some momentum to make good things happen.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jack. And now we will move to the Appalachian Mountain Club.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Thanks, Senator. Really appreciate the opportunity to chat, even though I can't see your face. And I guess, like everybody else, I first just want to say thank you. Your passionate support for decades, as Jack said. I still remember writing some of those letters back in the governor's office in support of full funding for LWCF. So it has been a very long time, and I think one of the things I really want to reiterate on this call to you and all of your colleagues is what a huge win this is for so many of you who have been at it for so long, that this bill and that kind of vote you got last night in the cloture vote is just, it's a historic opportunity and a historic sort of coming together and finally the fruit of the labor of so many of you for so long. So I really want to start with all of us recognizing how important that is and what a struggle it's been over so many years. But I wanted to also pick up on this conversation about New Hampshire's outdoor recreation economy. Of course, AMC is a big part of that, and we and so many others have been really hit hard. So the relief that you were helpful with, like the payroll protection program, have really helped us blunt the impact. But this entire sector has taken a huge hit. And it's sort of hard to see exactly where the end is and how all this phased reopening is going to go. And had the pleasure of being with Howie and Janice Crawford, talking to Drew and others a week or two ago about exactly this. And so the Great America's Outdoors Act is, it's just so critical to helping us maintain and revive and enhance the kind of outdoor economic impact that we have here in New Hampshire through the outdoor recreation economy. And the two sides, I think that's the other piece that I find wonderful, is with LWCF, which is where we have been so focused for so many years, the federal and state side, but now bringing in the maintenance funding. We're a part of the White Mountain Trails Collective, and I know they're on the call and will be speaking, but the maintenance backlog in the White Mountain National Forest of trails and other kinds of infrastructure, it will be such a boon to have that funding to help us address that and to help us accommodate this newly revived love of the outdoors and understanding of how important the outdoors is to all of us, both physically and mentally and emotionally. So it's really a moment in time, I guess, with the context of the COVID pandemic and then all of the other things that are going on in the world around us, to see people come together around trying to protect and improve the outdoors, which is exactly what my organization's mission is, as is much of the people on this call. So just want to say thank you, thank you, and we're really, excited, and thanks to my colleague Amy Lindholm and the LWCF National Coalition. We're looking forward to working with you and everybody else to get this over the finish line in the week to come. So thanks, Senator.
Well, thanks so much, Susan, for your nice words and for all of your hard work. And as you point out, it has taken years for us to get to this point, and I've still got my fingers crossed that we're not quite over the finish line. So we got to get
everything
there.
That can be crossed is crossed in my home right now.
But it really is a result of so many of the people on this call and people across the country who have made their voices heard as we talk about what we hold special in our country and what we want to protect and enjoy. And so it really is, as you say, the result of years of work by tens of thousands of people.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And now I will go to the Trust for Public Land.
Hi, Senator. This is Roger Cruzman with the Trust for Public Land. Unfortunately, Shelby Sems, who's our New Hampshire State Director, couldn't be on the call today. She had a family emergency, so you're stuck with me. I used to be the New Hampshire State Director, so glad to be on the call today. I think, as you know, TPL's mission is about creating parks and protecting land for people, and so just the opportunity to thank you for not only your exceptional vote yesterday and moving the Great America Outdoors Act forward, but just for your commitment over the many years to this effort is just really heartwarming. So thank you for that. I have the privilege now of working for the Trust for Public Land nationally, and so I actually get to see the impacts and the benefits of LWCF all across the country, not only just in the state of New Hampshire. And for all the reasons it is so important to New Hampshire, it is just as important to places all over the country to make sure that we're making sure that our local communities have that access to the great outdoors for health reasons, for community economic development reasons, for quality of life reasons, again, in New Hampshire and across the country. So thank you for what you're doing. Just a few examples. A few years ago, we were able to protect some land around the Appalachian Trail in Hanover. I think you were able to come visit
yes,
that.
Yes, I got to
project
visit
with
that.
us. Yeah, and we're currently working on another project with partners called the Dundee Project in Jackson and Bartlett through the Forest Legacy Program, and Jack spoke about the huge importance of the Legacy Program. So thank you for that support. But just, fingers crossed that this last necessary steps happen. We were able to all work together to permanently get permanent authorization to LWCF, and now we're close to full funding. So, thank you for your leadership, and please let us know what we can do over the next month to make sure we get across the finish line.
Well, thanks so much, Roger. And I think continuing all of your advocacy efforts with members of Congress across the country, with senators, is really important. And thank you. I will always appreciate TPL for your support to help us preserve the IP lands in northern New Hampshire. That was has been such a benefit to the state.
We all share scars and great pleasure in that, I'm sure.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Roger. I will now move to the Nature Conservancy.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Senator, for your ongoing support and for all the hard work that you and your staff have put in over the years to bring us to this point. We really appreciate it. I wanted to restate, I think, something that Susan Arnold said, which is heartening for me, which boils down to, in this sort of time that we're in the partisan politics, that we could see Congress coming together for a truly, bipartisan vote around conservation as being something that brings this country together, conservation and access to the outdoors, which, and with all the news that's going around that's sort of troubling, this is a very positive step forward that we see for the nation. For the Nature Conservancy, we've used LWCF and relied on LWCF for a lot of our larger scale conservation work. Places like the Conti National Wildlife Refuge, and using LWCF for acquisition there. But right now we're working on a project that's much different that I'm very excited about. And so we're working with the city of Manchester right now to build an accessible trail in our Manchester Cedar Swamp Preserve, which is 600 acres of land that we've owned for about 20 years in the city. And, as an able-bodied person, I can go out into the Cedar Swamp when I want to, but there are many people who we know, because of physical limitations, are unable to. And so the Nature Conservancy built an accessible trail at our Ossipee Pine Barrens a few years ago, and we are working on building the same type of trail in Manchester in partnership with the city of Manchester, and we'll hope to use some LWCF dollars in order to make that trail a reality over the next year or so. And to us, that's both the conservation, by keeping the land natural, as well as helping to bring more people out into the outdoors, is what LWCF is all about. And so we hope that our accessible trail adds to that, to get more people, especially in New Hampshire's largest city, outdoors and experiencing a truly globally rare ecosystem and offering that opportunity to many more people. So thank you, Senator, for all your work, and we're going to do our part to keep advocating both here in New Hampshire and in our chapters across the country to build the support and sustain the support for LWCF.
Well, thanks, Jim. I look forward to visiting the trail in Manchester when it's done.
We look forward to hosting you.
Thanks, Jim. I will now move to the League of Conservation Voters.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is terrific news. LCV has been a partner nationally and in states around the country, and we're proud to play that part. One of the things I wanted to point out, too, perhaps also my other role as a city councilor from Concord, is that it's not only the natural resources, White Mountain National Forest, that perhaps are most visible and very important and beloved, but as Jim was talking about in terms of other kinds of opportunities and situations that are supported by LWCF. For example, I'm not sure how many people really know or are aware of in Concord. It's a small sign, but when you walk into Bicentennial Square, there is a designation sign there from LWCF, and it's great to have that oasis, and I think it's important around the country for people to have access to those kinds of spaces, public parks. I know there's also a park in Nashua, and I know there are other places around the state of New Hampshire that are designated in that way. But it's also important in terms of an urban experience that people have that may not be able to so easily get out into the woods as we have here. So we're very happy to be part of this, and we'll do anything necessary to bring it over the line.
That's great. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. I will now move to the New Hampshire Land Trust Coalition.
Hello, this is Jeannie McIntyre again. I also want to thank you for your leadership and commitment over so many years to conservation and to LWCF and the incredible difference it's made in our state. I represent on this call a number of small local and regional organizations, as well as several much larger statewide organizations. What I would like to focus on really is the role at the local level of we're the one of the components of leverage that was mentioned earlier, the volunteerism and the private philanthropy that comes forward to be matched with federal and state funds. And I do agree with an earlier speaker about New Hampshire's advantage in that way. This is so important in getting people engaged to realize sort of the best opportunities for their communities. And I guess a final observation I would offer in an effort to keep brief here is that these types of community endeavors that bring federal and state and local resources and private philanthropy together really do make our communities more resilient and more inclusive.
What's happening? I'm on mute.
And so I really think that in these times, as communities are thinking about how to create more opportunities for all and projects like accessible trails, and community investment where people live and where all people can benefit from the outdoors, LWCF is just a critical element in making all that come real. And so, at the grassroots level, there are many of us standing at the ready to help you push this over the finish line. And thank you very, very much for what you've done so far.
Thanks, Jeannie, and thank you for all of those small community efforts around New Hampshire that are just so important.
Thank you, Jeannie. I am now going to call on Supervisor Kendall from the St. Gaudens National Historical Park.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Senator. I think I'm also going to be tag teaming in this with Thayer Tolles from the St. Gaudens Memorial as well. I just want to echo the comments that everyone has made that with the Dingle Act and now the Great America Outdoors Act, it's really clear that our public lands, our national parks, our state parks, our forests they really pull people together in a time when people find ways to divide themselves. And so I just really do take my hats off to the senator and her colleagues for pushing this at this time. It's a really great effort. How it will impact St. Gaudens National Historical Park, as of 2018, the National Park Service as a whole has had a deferred maintenance backlog of well over $11 billion, and that includes $6.15 billion in roads and paved structures and $5.7 billion in buildings and utilities and other similar systems. The St. Gaudens National Historical Park really only contributes about $5.8 million to that overall total. But when you consider that the park's, you consider the park's overall operating budget, that backlog represents about 5 years of operating funds for the park. Mm-hmm. Where we would be, focusing a lot of our efforts with this maintenance backlog funding would be, first of all, at the Blow-Me-Down Farm unit, which is a property that the park accepted mm-hmm. into the park in 2010. It's a 42-acre parcel, includes 9 NPS-owned historic structures that are on the National Register and that we have not received much funding yet to address the deferred maintenance needs there. And then also at the main part of the park, at the Aspet unit of the park, which includes the home and studios of Augusta St. Gaudens. Things like replacing roofs, other structural elements on historic structures, upgrades to building fire suppression and detection systems, sort of much needed improvements that will keep the buildings looking good on into perpetuity, since we are in the perpetuity business of the National Park Service. And Thayer, would you like to add to that?
Sure. Thank you. This is Thayer Tolles. The St. Gaudens Memorial is a nonprofit partner of the St. Gaudens National Historical Park. We help with programming and advocacy, and to that end, Senator, I'd like to thank you and the New Hampshire delegation again for all your help in our name change last year to the St. Gaudens National Historical Park. With that name change, I think comes higher expectations for ourselves in how we serve our community of people from New Hampshire and the Upper Valley and the some 40,000 people who visit the park every year. I want to follow up on what Jim from the Nature Conservancy was saying about accessibility issues. Senator, it's hard to believe it was a year ago you visited us at the park when the memorial was selling. Very different times. We were celebrating our centennial, and Rick and you and I had a lovely walk around the park grounds, and I think you will remember how difficult that is as an able-bodied person even to navigate. Yes. And so we are very focused on accessibility issues, and I want to thank you and your colleagues for giving us some guidance last summer when we were having some issues with visitors who were coming to our Sunday afternoon concerts, which are very popular and our most front-facing program. But that is all to say that one of the things that we need to do is really look closely at the park's buildings and grounds for where we can help all visitors be able to experience the natural and artistic beauty of this site. And we really are committed to doing that. We are in the sort of the natural combination of national park and cultural site, a unique property in New Hampshire. Of course, it's the only national park in New Hampshire. But we also are grounds for works by one of the greatest sculptors this country has produced, Augusta St. Gaudens, and especially a summer like this when the grounds will be open to the public, but the buildings will not for the foreseeable future. We want to commit to making sure our sculpture and our grounds are in the best possible state of preservation and presentation. So thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to continuing working with you.
Wow, thank you, Rick and Thayer, for all of your efforts. It is one of my favorite places to visit in New Hampshire.
Thank you, Rick and Thayer. And now we'll move to the White Mountain National Forest, Supervisor Carpenter and Melanie.
Hello, Senator. Thanks for the opportunity to participate in the call. This is Connie. And I want to thank everyone for the conservation efforts across New Hampshire. We know during this stay-at-home order that we've had unseasonably high use earlier, and that just is a testament to the importance of having outdoor opportunities for people where they can feel healthy and interact and appreciate the forest. Also, for the people with the Forest Service Forest Legacy Program, it was also wonderful to hear how that is contributing to the health and welfare of the citizens of New Hampshire as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about how this proposed legislation, if it were passed, how it would be used on the White Mountain National Forest. Of course, we cover over 750,000 acres, and so infrastructure, which is a physical link between the people that visit and the public lands, that supports many of the ecological, economical, social benefits that are provided, and it also supports the infrastructure is important for logging, outdoor recreation, tourism, and emergency response, which is a big thing. And of course, it supports the businesses, particularly in the local communities, as others have testified. So we provide access to over 1,200 miles of hiking trails, 400 miles of snowmobile trails, 600 miles of road, 125 road bridges, 159 trail bridges, 23 campgrounds, and other recreational facilities, as well as the opportunity for people to be there. And so deferring maintenance in our infrastructure portfolio has been a challenge. The forest infrastructure has fallen behind what is necessary to meet our forest needs and to provide the quality experience we want for forest users. Our funding for Forest Service infrastructure comes from both the Forest Service appropriations and from the Federal Highway Administration's Federal Lands Transportation Program. When we look at inflation over the past 2 decades, we can see that the resources have been decreasing. Our deferred maintenance backlog across New Hampshire and Maine is more than $35 million. And additionally...
35 million or billion?
Million, 35 million with the M. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So allowing deterioration of the infrastructure, has an impact on forest users and on local businesses that depend on those people visiting us. We are actively taking steps to reduce the maintenance. We're doing some travel management planning to look at how our road system can meet community needs. We've streamlined and continue to streamline our environmental review processes so that we can address repairs more quickly before they deteriorate. As you've seen, we've partnered with organizations like AMC to invest in federal facilities and the White Mountain Trail Collective, and we try to keep in contact with our other partners and work in concert when we address critical issues. And, there's a variety of organizations that help us with our trail work. So we're really thankful for all those partnerships and, the opportunity to work with others and to see what happens if we can get a better opportunity to address some of this stuff. What we might use the funding for would include repairing and upgrading snowmobile trail bridges and infrastructure, addressing high-use trails and their maintenance, and perhaps our aging infrastructure as well at recreation sites, as some other folks on the call have mentioned, like at Glen Ellis. So thank you for the opportunity to hear and to see the good work that you're doing, to try to provide for the needs that we have and serve the people of New Hampshire.
Well, thank you. Hopefully you will get a big down payment on some of that maintenance backlog if we can pass this $1.9 billion for 5 years for deferred maintenance at the National Park Service and at the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, and BLM and the Bureau of Indian Education. It is hopefully a very important down payment on a lot of that deferred maintenance that will really make a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Melanie from the White Mountain Trail Collective.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry. Hello, everyone. Hello, Senator. I just want to first thank you for taking this time to have this call with all of us and listen to all of our voices, and also thank you for all the work that you are doing in protecting our public lands throughout the state of New Hampshire and understanding the value they bring to the people of New Hampshire. I'm going to echo probably a lot of comments that already have been said, but the White Mountain Trail Collective, we are a nonprofit agency that adds capacity to help our partners with deferred backlog of muscle-powered or human-powered trail maintenance. And one of the prime examples of what we do is the last 2 years, we partnered with the Forest Service and with AMC and other partners to rebuild and restore Crawford Path, which celebrated its bicentennial last year. It's our oldest continuously maintained hiking path in the country on Forest Service lands. And combined 2018 and 2019, we were able to help put over 15,000 hours of field work, crew work, or boots on the ground to restoring that 8.5-mile path. So our goal is to basically help other agencies, other partners, volunteers, basically attack that backlog of maintenance that we have that Connie just spoke about with that high number of $35 million. We are helping the forest this year restoring Glen Ellis Falls. We will also be adding in an ADA accessible lookout to improve the user base of Glen Ellis Falls. That project right now we just fully funded at $150,000, working with some other partners and some federal match funding. So basically our mission is to help everyone that's basically on this call row in that same direction, kind of raising all ships. We do know from our own data, a lot of our partners don't have the technology or the capacity to gather data of their own backlog, and I'm talking about our partners that work within the White Mountain National Forest. So we do suspect that the numbers right now of the dollar amount of that backlog maintenance will be higher once our partners start reporting in their own backlog maintenance and what they're caring for on public lands.
Well, thank you, Melanie. It's exciting to hear how much effort is going on and how many volunteer hours are involved.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And now we'll move to Teresa from NEMO.
Hi there. First off, thanks again for your support on both the LWCF and also for measuring the outdoor recreation economy. It's really exciting at NEMO to see that project come to completion, and we're really excited about the good work that can still happen. So NEMO is an outdoor gear brand based in Dover, and since the pandemic, we've seen a shift in our demand from ultralight backpacking gear to family camping tents. So we're seeing a shift in how consumers are using the outdoors, and they're not going to just big national parks, but they're also going out in their own backyard. So I think that this bill will help ensure that all Americans have access to outdoor recreation no matter where they live. And at NEMO, we're working to design gear that supports that goal. So gear that gets people outside in public lands, whether it's a big overnight in the Pemmy or a picnic in Concord. So thanks again for this opportunity to speak on this call today. We were lobbying in March with the Conservation Alliance for this legislation, and it's really exciting to see big movement coming.
Well, thanks, Teresa. I can attest to camping out in different ways. My grandsons camped out in the field behind our house last week and weathered the rainstorm and the coyotes, so they did very well. I don't know if they had a NEMO tent, though. I'll have to check that.
Great to hear.
Thank you, Teresa. And now we'll move to Kathy from the Sierra Club.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I was on mute. And thank you, Senator, for all that you've been doing. I know this has been a long slog for you and for everybody on this call. It's really exciting to be at the precipice of success and such an important program that was designed to shift funding from drilling and other industrial uses to public access and public lands to all over the United States, and having these funds enjoyed in New Hampshire and across the country with the different LWCF programs, as well as the sorely needed deferred maintenance in national parks everywhere, is a really it's a really awesome goal to support, and for so many years addressing this issue and to be at this spot is very exciting. And it just makes me think about in years before pandemics, how many people enjoy our national parks and enjoy these public areas, that they really help heal our minds and our bodies in so many ways. And during the time of pandemics, these places, these special places, are even more sorely needed. So I really appreciate the efforts that you've done and everybody on this call has done to support this fund to fulfill its original promise and to support our national parks throughout the country. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. And Greg Bison from the New Hampshire Recreation and Park Association.
Thank you, Peter and Senator. Representing New Hampshire Recreation and Parks Association is one of our key things. We are on the local level, and a lot of our parks and communities aren't able to afford using LWCF or renovating parks unless LWCF is available. I know, for instance, in Exeter, where I'm the recreation director, one of our key parks was developed by LWCF in 1974. So that is our key cog and our centerpiece of recreation that is used by over 100,000 people a year. And having this ability to keep putting lands in conservation and increasing our recreational opportunities through these communities is essential for us, because they want to see us go out and get grant money. Parks and recreation departments are usually deemed the bottom of the totem pole, so we don't have that opportunity to go get the big projects passed unless we have that grant funding. And we appreciate your efforts in continuing to fight for LWCF, and we're excited that this will be a program that will continue to grow. And we look forward to working with you, Senator, as we move forward.
Thanks, Greg. Can I ask you a question? I know that many Parks and Rec departments across the state provide summer programs for children, and I know that some of those have been suspended for this summer, and I hear from lots of families who are concerned both because their kids are going to miss those programs and they're not sure what to do with them as we open back up and people go back to work. Do you have any sense of how many departments have canceled those programs for the summer, and whether there are plans to move forward and to provide guidance for some of the communities that want to go ahead and try and continue their summer programs?
Yes, actually, we were on a Zoom call prior to this one. A lot of them have canceled. Some of them not by choice, more of the select boards or the city councils were uncomfortable with the guidance coming out when it did. But I know, for instance, and using my example in Exeter, we usually service 400 kids a summer at our summer camp. We could not offer that conventional summer camp with the restrictions. We have pivoted and now are offering what we call a Care Kids program to those that really need childcare. And we've had a great response. I know the Seacoast is very proactive at getting childcare. But there's some larger communities like Concord is still offering summer camps, Conway. So it's really a mixed bag of who would go forward, because there's such what ifs out there with the regulations and trying to keep it. And for us, that summer camp is pivotal. That's like the kids' special fun time. And for us, we had to explain that this is not going to be your typical summer camp. This is not going to be what you expected in the past. And hopefully we can move forward and keep the kids safe, but also have a great summer with more alternative programming that would provide the childcare. Because, yes, we want to be that avenue to allow the economy to open up. And we understand if no one's opening up childcare, who else will? So Parks and Recs are stepping up. I would say if you wanted to survey everyone in the state, there's probably, I'd say, 40 to 50% of the departments have canceled. But that's a personal choice by their communities.
Sure. Well, just to make you aware, this is a little off topic, but I am hoping that we are going to get some funding in the HEROES Act, the legislation that passed the House that's coming over that's in the Senate now, to negotiate additional help because of the pandemic that will provide help for programs like Parks and Rec summer programs that provide child care for people. So we will watch that very carefully, but you may also want to just clue people in that is an effort that will be underway.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. Is there anybody on the line that I did not call? Okay, Senator, I will turn it over to you for closing remarks.
Well, I would just like to thank everybody so much for your time today, for sharing with me your thoughts about what a difference it will make. I'm going to say when we pass this legislation, because I think we're going to get this over the finish line. And your support in doing that has just been so critical. As a number of you noted, it's been a long time coming, and I am so optimistic that we are going to get this done and that it's going to make a difference in all of the work that all of you do and in so many of our communities and throughout New Hampshire and throughout the country. So thank you all so much. We will stay tuned. We will let you know when it passes and what the vote is, and hopefully the president will sign it as soon as it passes. So thank you all so much, and enjoy your day. It's going to be very hot and muggy here in Washington. I would like to be in New Hampshire with all of you.
Thanks, Senator.